Hey, this is Jack McHalffey. Welcome back to the channel. I know it's been a bit since I posted, but I had a lot of year changes in the year 2025, so I wanted to kind of put them all into this one video, everything that happened, my learnings, and the plans for 2026 as well. So basically, it's been a big roller coaster of change, a lot of uncomfortable situations, and really testing my routines and like what my path is in life really kind of went all over the place. So essentially I'm going to be going over, in this video, I'm going to be going over my 2025 year recap, lessons learned, business goals, personal goals, and habits I'd like to build for 2026. Essentially this is my story of starting a business from scratch in the year 2025. So let's go ahead and get started. So quick background, at the beginning of 2025, I was about 5 years at the same job. It was pretty unfulfilling overall, but I kind of just stuck there at the same pay for forever, just because it was comfortable, and safe. Also, my baby Clara had recently been born in 2024, so that's a big milestone. And then shortly before that, I'd also got married to my beautiful wife named Kira, and we were living with her parents at the time. My routines were pretty bad health-wise. I think I wasn't going to the gym. I had a good routine. I mean, kind of expectedly so with the baby. Kind of like forcing my attention day to day. So I think still calibrating on how things play out day to day is like a big hurdle there. So I recently had a failed business at that time as well. My wife and I tried to start a business called Dream It Do It, which was personal accountability for high achievers. And then at the time I was also streaming video games, and I would do also cooking streams with my wife. So it would be League of Legends, sometimes it would just be games with family, like Overcooked. That was kind of fun, chaotic. And I was really just resetting my life goals with my family. I was trying to get more in touch with my emotions, which the baby was really opening my eyes a lot to things that I'd been missing out on in my life up to that point. So the goal, the message that I was kind of getting from all this reflection is that comfortability doesn't mean fulfillment. And so we'll kind of see what choices and things I do to fulfill the unfulfillment feeling, to fix the unfulfillment feeling. So in March, I had a bit of a breaking point where I started a bunch of things at once. Probably went overboard after reflecting on it, but I essentially started a MBA program, which was a business mentorship program that also gives you a MBA degree at the end of it. It only takes a year and a half. There is a cost involved, of course, but it's like a really cool start a business, get expert advice kind of thing. I also went over to Texas to visit my sister for her graduation from college, so that was a pretty big milestone. It was also kind of a good way to mentally reset and just be away from my original place for a couple days, get some new perspectives from family members and things like that. I also started a new job technically. I was interviewing a couple rounds. I think there was 5 or 6 rounds. And I had one of the interviews, the last interview in Texas when I was visiting. So this was like a big, excitement point because it was a better role, more responsibilities, more pay, all that kind of good stuff. And then I'd also, because I was expecting to join the new job this month, I also signed up for a new gym membership, or a gym membership. And this is also right after, I should probably include that we also just moved into a new apartment. So we were in a brand new location. I didn't have any local friends at this time, so I kind of needed a way to, find some local community people, get some connections going, some friends, that kind of thing. So my idea was, okay, I can join a climbing gym and maybe see what I can do there as far as like connecting with people. And the same thing with my TCG experience. I used to be a bit of a professional TCG game called Flesh and Blood player. I was sponsored by my local card shop, and that happened for a year or two. So that was pretty fun. I was going to a ton of events, you know, flying to different states, that kind of thing. I even have a little jersey with like my name on it, and it has like the store logo and stuff. But I was trying to kind of like revisit that again now that I'm in a new location with a bigger city nearby, so I can have a lot more opportunities to go to different events and things like that. So I thought that would be a good idea to get some friends as well. So I kind of just decided to throw all this at myself and my family in March, which is kind of why I called it the breaking point. And you can kind of see the following month I went all in. You know, I put in my 2 weeks notice officially at the 5-year job. I started the new job and went digital. I was going to twice a week climbing sessions. 50% of the goal was just, you know, talking to people, making a friend. And then the other 50% is that once I'm in the gym, I get competitive and I like compete against myself mainly. And I'm always trying to get better, get stronger. You know, it kind of like reignites my passion for like improving. And then I want to like exercise so I can do better technically on the climbing thing, you know. And then I also went to local events every single week. So my weeks were kind of packed. You know, I was watching baby, I was doing all these things, I was starting a new job, and meanwhile, quick background, my wife and I were both working full-time, and we didn't have a babysitter or daycare for the baby. So baby was home with us at all times, always being watched by one of us. But this was a very promising looking time for me. I was really excited for the future. But this comes with our first lesson, or this brings me to my first lesson of the year, which is the burnout, essentially, that I experienced. And because I threw myself into working in all these new areas, and I was still adjusting to new family life, I just essentially experienced burnout every other week, every couple days sometimes. And at the time, it just feels like, to me, it's hard to recognize while I'm going through it. It just feels like a low energy day. It just feels like, oh, maybe I'll take a break today. Maybe I'll, you know, watch extra YouTube or play extra video game or something. It makes me not want to do much for a day or two. And then after I rest and decide to have lazy days, which does make me feel kind of bad because I have so much stuff I want to get done. Then I kind of come out of it and I go back into doing all the things and being like full force essentially. But yeah, like as I explained with Claire at home, I really didn't recognize how much work I had put for myself to do every single week. So this is kind of like first lesson learned. You can't sprint a marathon. It's kind of like the cheesy one-liner for this lesson. It's good to have all the things that you want to do and aspirations, but I feel like at the cost of burnout frequently, it's not a good idea. So a good pace would be great. Another thing, this is something I realized towards the end of the year, which it took months to realize essentially until I looked back and had a lot of, you know, long conversations with my wife, is that we had been a little bit on a routine with date nights. Every single Thursday we'd have them, but we weren't really deeply checking in with each other. We kind of just bring all of our work stress and stories. We'd almost like just talk about our own individual jobs and stuff we had going on instead of actually talking about each other or asking questions, you know, having the real conversations. So this was something we realized later, and it's now on a lot better track, I'd say, overall. But the learning from this realization essentially is to increase the quality of the time spent together over just forcing it to happen every single week. We're still doing the weekly date nights, and we're doing a lot more time spent together, you know, week to week, but being more present and more intention behind the hanging out and going on dates and whatnot, I think is a big takeaway from this year for sure, especially with so many things being juggled at the same time for both of us. And then this kind of teetered into the next failure/learning, which was the new job started becoming very stressful to the point where I was kind of skipping lunch. I'd check in early, I'd like clock in an hour early or more, or I would stay later. And this is like kind of like the first time I've really done something to this extent for a job. So I was really not liking the fact that this was going on, but I felt like it was necessary just because I was so stressed and trying to get everything done. Not get everything done, but I was trying to outdo myself in a way. Like I was trying to be extra prepared every single day. I wasn't behind in any work, or there wasn't things delayed or anything like that. It's just I really wanted to show up to every single meeting and every single task and opportunity and work with extra preparedness and extra wisdom. So I just really felt like, I needed to do this extra level of effort. But the stress was kind of coming home with me at this time, in a negative way. Like it's just probably the most stressed I've felt on a day-to-day basis, like a chronic kind of stress, which is really weird. I feel like I've been in more stressful situations, but for some reason, this job, the way that everything was communicated and everything, it just wasn't going too well. So the key learning here is that being stressed and like leaning into it and working into it is not always the right play, especially if it goes on for several months to a year at a time. So that's the learning there. And then, so a positive outcome of the year is my wife became a full-time mom. So she officially put in her 2 weeks so she can spend more time with Clara, relieve a little bit of stress from me, having to, attend a meeting maybe with the baby, or like, set her down for a second, juggle all these different things we're trying to do. So the result was very good overall. I think the better happiness for our family. And my wife was also pretty stressed at her job day to day too. It was like what we were talking about all the time. Both of us were talking about our jobs in our free time. So it was a good choice. She can kind of spend some more time doing what she wants to do and becoming a full-time mom, which she had been wanting to do for the last since Claire had been born. She was really dreading going back to work after the maternity leave. So this was definitely a positive action overall. And then also my company was starting to take shape. So I've tried through the MBA program, I tried a bunch of different versions of what I was trying to do with YouTube. I tried creating a couple different types of applications, kind of like social ones where you can like have a friend on YouTube and you kind of see who they're subscribed to, see when they're online, interact with things like in social ways like that, like a little plugin. And I've experimented with this idea all the way till I basically started finding my niche, which is YouTube consulting for companies. So I have the database migration experience, and so I'm kind of using that and the project management to hook into their data on the backside and then present it to them in a way that helps them understand where their biggest issues are. And I'll also use some other tools to kind of do a little bit of a competitor analysis and then compare the two to build a roadmap and try to give advice as best I can, essentially, through that. And that seems to be working pretty well. That's a really big need. I'd say there's a lot of video production companies that offer all the things, but they don't offer this. And these companies are leaving a lot on the table by not having somebody dedicated to the strategy or the data or the competitor look kind of thing that I'm focusing on. But yeah, so this started taking place. So this was a great development towards the end of the year. But yeah, the biggest takeaway here that actually got me some results over time is just focusing on the same thing over a long period of time. And it wasn't even that long of a time, but I had just, before the MBA program, I had been switching tasks every month, every 3 weeks or so. And by tasks, I mean like focus. Like I'd be like, oh, I have this idea. I try it for a little bit. It's kind of like that valley of despair that everyone talks about. It's like uninformed optimism, informed pessimism, and then you hit the bottom and you're like, okay, this is actually really hard, and then you drop out and go do something else. So I basically was doing that loop until I finally just decided, okay, well, I'm going to find something that I can help with in this space, and I'm not going to switch off of this space until I get something going. And then that was really the thing that helped out, is just really trying over a long period of time and just not being really stubborn about switching. That's the biggest help, positive action from there. And then December, I actually got laid off from my job. which was a big emotional hit at the very beginning. It was also because it was very negative, obviously, but it was also a little bit relieving. That same day, I just felt a ton of relief and a bunch of freedom. So, and I also got opportunities that day and that week for the company that I had been building the last couple months. So I had a client who offered to start paying in January up front for the next couple months. I have another prospect who essentially agreed to paying $2,000 per month. So I have a couple prospects going in a way that I can hopefully sustain my my bills over this next chapter. So that's kind of like my plan right now, is that when the door opens, when a door closes, another window opens somewhere else, and that window is the one I'm basically trying to jump through, which is the company. But yeah, it's just a weird mix of relief and urgency, I'd say. That's kind of like the two biggest takeaways of that event happening. So now I have a whole new goal, and it just happened to land at the very end of the year. I don't normally focus on specifically New Year's resolutions or anything like that, so this is just kind of like a need driven, I guess, restructure of all the things that I'm doing because of this big event here. And so this essentially says end of the year pivot, and I did crunch a little numbers, and I feel like I have time to make this work. So I have a little bit, like a month or two of bills saved up, and I have some prospects, and I have a current client that's already paying as well. And so I basically went into build mode and tried to seize the real opportunity of going all in on this company. So that is the plan, and I have a couple goals and different things to go over for what I'm going to be focusing on in 2026 because of all of this. There we go. I went too ahead. So the business habits to build, the number one priority is outreach and sales, obviously, because I think just getting a couple clients in the door is what's going to keep the company and myself alive. No clients means no business. So every single day I have to reach out and set up calls to get my service sold and to get people helped with what I can do. I also made it a goal to post consistently, even if it's just a repost within my market, because people can still see that kind of like on my profile, and it kind of shows that I'm active. And I redesigned my LinkedIn so it's all focused towards my company. And I'm trying to slowly build a YouTube presence as well. I'm going to be building behind the scenes stuff on this channel, kind of like my personal thoughts and opinions. And pretty soon I'm going to be building one for the company specifically, where I just talk about, I guess, tips and tricks for growing, or how to look at your data, or how to look at your competitors and get learnings from there, how to use different tools and hook-ins related to YouTube. So, I mean, that channel is going to be all tactical and practical advice, and this channel is going to be more behind the scenes of what's happening in the company and with my life and my learnings and things like that. So that's kind of related to the post consistently. So this will be like the build up, and then once I get a little bit more professional and a little bit more in the habit of getting these things recorded, then I'll start transitioning to posting a little bit more on the company site. And then, the last one is just like a more of a general habit of like focus on the clients, and then don't do stuff for fun on the side nearly as much. If I really need a break and it's the end of the day, maybe, but it's really just deliver very exceptional work and then get paid, get that relationship going, and then reward myself afterwards. So that's a big shift I'm making for this next year. And then some personal habits. I'd like to improve a health routine now that I have a little bit more flexibility in my day. So essentially just a simple daily workout, sleep by 11, just have a strict bedtime, that I'm trying to get better at keeping. I'm a bit of a night owl in general, so not having an alarm is pretty nice so far. And then also drink a good amount of water each day. So just build really simple routines to try to get back on track with doing this kind of stuff every single day. And then intentional date nights. This is going to be a really important one as well. So I put some ideas down here, like concerts, theater, dancing, mini golf. Just break the routine of just doing the food date every single week, and create like an actual more interesting things to talk about, situations like that, instead of just, you know, a routine, like a super strict routine where we don't like kind of explore anything deeper beyond that. And the last one is work-life balance. And so this is going to be trial and error, and I'm kind of thinking this in terms of like having a babysitter sometimes, and also protect my balance between freedom and productivity, because I have a bit of a weird relationship with both of those things, because I want both, but I don't like, I want to set my time up so that I'm getting work done within a certain period of time, of course, but I also want that flexibility and freedom, and even just telling myself what to do, it's not always aligned with what I want to do. So I feel like that's a little bit more of a self-discovery, trial and error kind of thing that I'm gonna have to work through. But finding a way where I can put stuff in front of me to get done, and make great progress every single day while still giving myself the freedom to do things that I want to do week to week. So some quick revenue targets for 2026. In February, I'm trying to hit the 7,000 per month. So that'll easily cover my bills and whatnot. And then it's a great milestone to hit. In March, I'm trying to get to 10,000 per month. So like a client or two more, essentially, from February to March really should be realistically easy to hit. I don't need that many clients to be able to get to this number. Not many more clients than what I currently have going. And then at the end of March, I'm going to reevaluate and essentially see what new numbers I would like to go for. So that's an easy slide to get through. So the adventure continues. For some reason, when I was journaling, the phrase "knock and the door shall open" came to mind, so I decided to share that with everyone. I feel like every time I'm about to do something or send an outreach or connect with another person, you know, like the social part or the putting yourself out there part, I'm always kind of referred back to this this sentence here, because I feel like if you don't try and if you don't knock, then the door will not open. You know what I mean? Like, you need to do the first action for the door to open. You can't just wait outside the door or be nearby and the door to open and then you run through, you know? So this year taught me to, that comfort kills potential. I put a little harsh, and chaos creates opportunity, because a couple different big changes that I kind of voluntarily introduced chaos this year is what it kind of feels like. I definitely had some things that didn't go as planned, some burnouts, some rebuilds of the company idea. So now I have definitely a lot more clarity and a lot more realization of where I would actually like to go and be in general. So this is a quick reminder to please consider subscribing if you and please like the video if you want to see more updates like this. I'm going to be trying to just give more thoughts and updates from what's going on with me in the near future. So yeah, if you like this kind of thing, please let me know. And the next video, I'm considering talking about how I got my first big client. So stick around for that. But otherwise, thanks you all for watching and listening to my ramble about the 2025 year and about learnings that I had. Hope everyone has a great new year, and I'll see you next time. This is a test recording. How will this presentation go?